This is Retirement Roadmap Radio with Mark Fricks from Master Plan Retirement Consultants. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is Retirement Roadmap Radio with your host, Mark Fricks.
Hello again and welcome to another episode of Retirement Roadmap Radio with me, Mark Fricks, your host. And joining us here in just a moment is Tony Shore, our co-host, and we are excited to be with you today. We have a great new show. We're going to be covering something that we've not covered before, which I always try to do that. I like new stuff, right? So today, we talk a lot. And by the way, Tony, let's go ahead and get you in here. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great.
Good.
I've been good. I've just been really busy, Mark. Crazy. It's just been insane between activities with the kids, who are now not kids anymore, and family, I should say, and work. It's nuts. I just wish spring would hurry up and get here. I don't think we're going to get a real spring this year.
I think we're having a pretty good spring here, so.
You think so?
Nice. Yeah.
Well, for our listeners who might not know, I'm up in Minnesota right now, so
right.
Spring probably won't come here. It's just going to go from winter to summer.
And I'm in beautiful Atlanta, Georgia, so we know it's spring because there's yellow dust on all of our cars. So.
Oh, that's true. The dust, in spring,
The pollen.
And, it's allergy season.
Yeah,
in Atlanta, right?
Which really doesn't bother me much.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's
interestingly enough. Maybe a sneeze here and there, but nothing major.
Yeah, so. I have allergies. It's actually starting to affect me even here. So, Mark, how have you been? You're busy, right?
Oh, we're busy.
Yeah.
Busy. Today I'm seeing clients or having meetings from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. tonight with like 1 30-minute break.
Unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
And I worked last Saturday. Anyway, I'm not complaining. I am blessed. I am blessed that we
are truly blessed,
busy,
yes.
that we are helping folks. We're getting thank yous, and I didn't think I could do this, and all of that kind of good stuff. So it's all good. And I love working. I love my job. You know that. Yeah. I'm actually going to be hitting the road finally again, teaching some face-to-face classes.
Oh, wow.
I love
awesome.
that. I miss that so much.
Yeah.
So as you know, we do a lot of webinars online, and I love that. That's good. But there's nothing like looking in their eyes and
the interaction. And I know you love to teach. You're a teacher, and you love to share and be educational, and that's what the show is about. Right. So today on the show, I know, we were talking before the show a bit about all the expenses people can face when planning for retirement, saving for retirement, and in retirement. And we've talked about them many times on the show. You're always telling us about, and I think our listeners, if they've listened before, they could probably name the big ones. We talk about them: taxes, inflation, the one everybody's been talking about.
Sure.
Those are some of the biggies, right?
Yeah.
Healthcare.
I call them sinkholes. On the retirement roadmap. So we want to make sure that we either avoid them, have a strategy for them, have a plan for them. Maybe it's a detour, maybe it's maybe we fill it in. I don't know. We can use all kind of illustrations, but we talk about the big ones. I think the big one in my thought pattern as I research is rising taxes. No doubt in my mind that taxes will become significantly higher in the future. We have $30 trillion in debt. You just can't just dismiss that. Eventually it's going to burst. We talk about long-term care, right? That's a big one. We talk about bear markets every 5 years, average of 36% drop every 5 years, right? And so those are some of the big ones. And losing a spouse prematurely is also a big one. Yeah, so that's probably the big four. But I want to talk about some other ones we don't think as much about that can be not maybe as devastating, but certainly can have an effect on your retirement. You need to think about it and have a plan for it.
So these are ones that aren't talked about as much, and maybe people aren't thinking about as readily, but can be important and can add up. So I'm glad we're going to cover this. So the unexpected expenses that can happen to us in retirement. So
exactly.
where do you want to start with this, Mark?
Well, let's start with one that maybe is not one of the most less. What's a good way to put it? Well, maybe it's a little bit better known. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
And that's what we call longevity risk. Which is living longer than we thought. I mean, I had somebody the other day said, I'm not living past 80. And they were like 62. And I said, why? And so I said, tell me about your health. Well, I'm in good health and I exercise. And well, how long did your mom and dad live? Well, dad was 90 and mom. I said, wait a minute. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to walk in front of a bus and it's a plan.
Yeah.
We need to plan on age 100 because there's this little thing called technology and innovation. And so if you think 90 today, I'm thinking in 30 years, 100, right?
Yeah.
Now, some people are like, I don't want to live that long. Well, that's up to you. You know, I'm not going to control that. Yeah. But outliving your money because of living so very long is certainly a risk that we talk about and that we either have a strategy for or understand. And you know, when I run the reports, I'll run them to at least age 100, and people look at it, well, I'm not living that long. Hey, you might mess up and live that long, okay?
Yeah, you might. So man plans, God laughs. My grandfather.
I love that.
My grandfather is 101 years old, and he's going strong, and that's honest to God's truth. He bought a new camper after his 101st birthday. Well, it was used, but he bought a different camper than his other one. Right. And he is in a wheelchair right now and needs help getting up and down a little bit, but he's mentally sharp and still active. So, that's you got to plan on that.
Yeah. You don't know. Yeah. So that is certainly, and we do have discussions about lifespans and family history and all that kind of stuff, and to get a better hold on it. Now, I have had people. I had he was actually a doctor, and he said, I have this rare condition, and the doctors have told me I'm not going to live more than 5 years. So that we involve that in our planning. Let's turn on Social Security now, right? Let's do this. And so we do have those discussions. They're very important to have.
Yeah, everybody's situation is different, and if you have something like that, then you might want to plan for that. But otherwise, it's smart to plan out longer. You know,
absolutely.
And plan for hope for the best, plan for the worst, right?
Exactly. I just said that this morning in a meeting. So,
did you? That's funny.
Yeah. Say it all the time.
Yeah. So what's next? Okay, so longevity is a risk in retirement that you have to plan for. It sounds odd to talk about it like it's a risk or a bad thing, but
not bad, just a risk. Yeah. So another one I was thinking about, we talk a lot about long-term care. Long-term care insurance has become almost unaffordable. Yeah. Those that have it, it keeps going up. The new ones, it's hard to get coverage. We have better tools now to use. But if you think about the fact that, I've got several clients that are right now going into assisted living and nursing homes. And so we're seeing the real numbers, right? And so, and if you got a spouse at home, so now they've still got to live at home. They still have their expenses, and now you're adding on. I know in this area it's around $8,000 a month for a nursing home. Okay,
wow, folks,
Medicare doesn't cover that. It may cover the first 30 to 60 days. After that, you're on your own. So can you imagine an extra $100,000 a year on top of what your spouse needs coming out of your? I mean, I don't know. That's pretty devastating. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about other healthcare costs. A couple of things people may not realize. Healthcare inflation averages better than 6% as opposed to 3.5% of regular inflation. Do the math. So that's going up twice as fast. Secondly, I don't know if you realize it or not, Tony, but Part B Medicare you pay for when you turn 65. Yep. Last year it was $143 or so per person, okay? So if you got a couple, that's almost $300. This year it went up to $170 something per person.
Yeah.
It goes up virtually every year based on the amount of money Medicare had to spend. It's not based on inflation. They do some kind of a formula. Say, okay, Medicare spent this much, so everybody's going to pay this much. Okay. Now, something else. If you make too much money, which is not a whole lot, I think it's around $60,000. You make more than that, Medicare Part B starts going up.
Yep.
We have people making in the $100,000 plus range paying $530 a month per person, okay? That doesn't count deductibles. That doesn't count things that aren't covered by Medicare. I had somebody recently, their drug was not covered, $2,000 a month. Okay. What about dental? What about hearing aids? So this is stuff that we've got to not just say, hey, I'm going to be on Medicare Part A, Part B. I'm going to buy a supplement. I'm good. Put on the brakes. Let's do some math.
Dental, vision, and hearing are not covered by Medicare.
Not unless you buy an extra special supplement and it's more expensive. So you're going to pay for it one way or the other. So
right, and long-term care is not covered by Medicare.
Nope.
And those are the four main areas not covered by Medicare, and those are the four main things that seniors will always need eventually.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, that it's not covered, because those are things when you get older, hearing, vision, and dental, those are three things you're going to need to spend money on.
Exactly. So another good one I came up with is something I call public policy risk. And what this is all of our laws are written in pencil. Our tax laws are, our Social Security laws are written in pencil. Okay, and what I mean by that is any administration, any Congress can change the rules. It could be that they totally change the way your IRA works, or they could do away with the Roth. There's so many things they can do. Now, can we plan for that totally? Maybe not totally, but we can at least take into account the fact that, if we're depending only on Social Security, we might need to build up some other things to depend on.
True.
And things like that. So it is a discussion, and it is something that is always a risk. And it seems like the further down the road we get, the more at risk it is when they start floating some of these ideas about, I heard a couple of years ago, and this was actually something floated, what the government actually taking over part of our 401ks and putting them into the Social Security bucket. I'm like, how can you do that? Well, they're the government. They can do whatever they want to do if they can decide upon something. So that is a risk that's harder to plan for, but we need to at least give notice to it, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's important, and so these are areas obviously that a lot of people don't understand where they're going to need to spend extra money. You talked about longevity, you talked about things Medicare doesn't cover, and I think that's so crucial. But obviously, the way to combat this is having a plan in place, and so. What needs to happen is they need to work with a financial services professional like yourself. So how can our listeners out there get a hold of you? And I know, Mark, you're offering a complimentary consultation, correct?
Yeah, we always are willing to give to any of our listeners 30 minutes of my time, give or take, for you to ask me your specific concerns, questions, and then based on that discussion, we'll take a look and see, is this a good candidate for us to run some reports for? And those are complimentary too. We'll run a series of 6, 8, 10 reports that will show the person we're talking with, you, where you are and where you may end up. Okay, it'd be nice to know that, right? And until it's like going to the doctor. You kind of want to know what's wrong before you start trying to fix something. So that is all complimentary, and so I do have openings for 5 folks over the next 7 days. Cool. So please don't hesitate, even if it's over the weekend when you're listening to the show. Call the office, leave a message. Hey, I want a 30-minute session with Mark, or Tony. Better yet. This is technology, right? This is a world we live in. Go to our website, and right on the front page is a little green button on the bottom right-hand corner. It says schedule an appointment. Just click on that, and my personal calendar will pop up. Pick a time, and you're in, okay? So the website is masterplanretire.com. Right on the front page. So that's a great way to get a hold of us. If you're old-fashioned, you can always give us a call, 770-980-9262. But that little button works really, really well, and you can pick out the time that works for you.
Right, and that's great. I'm glad you're offering that to our listeners. I would encourage them. I know there's no charge, no obligation to that initial consultation to get a plan started, a plan in place. So exactly. Today, we are talking about some of the unexpected expenses that you're going to incur in retirement and things that you need to plan for. These are things you help your clients out with and make sure they plan for. So what's another one that's not one of the big 3 or 4 that our listeners need to know about?
So this is one that anytime I mention this, people are like, no, that can't happen. Well, folks, it happened, okay? And it's loss or reduction of a pension plan. So I think it's about 2 years ago. I think it was in Pennsylvania. Some municipality in Pennsylvania, whether it be the city or a county, reduced, or maybe it was a union, reduced the pension payout by up to 40%. These were people that were already retired. Imagine getting a 40% pay cut on your pension. I mean, it just blew the. But if they had not done that, the pension plan would have collapsed. So I think we're going to start seeing more of that. I think not only is Social Security going to be reduced or at least slowed down, but I think we're going to see more and more pension plans in trouble to where there could actually be not just for people still working, but already retired. One guy they interviewed was 72, 73 years old, had been retired 10 years, and all of a sudden he's getting a 40% pay cut on his pension. I mean, now what can we do about that? Have backup plans. That's what we do. Have other money.
What do you mean when you say you have backup plans?
Well, we want to make sure we build up and kind of put some of the some of the I don't want to use the word, not the risk, but responsibility on the retiree.
Oh, okay.
We need to save more money. We need to pretend. I mean, if you say, well, I've got enough in my 401k because I got my wife has a pension, my husband has a pension, I got Social Security, everything's good, hunky-dory, birds and butterflies and all that kind of good stuff. But what could happen? And so that's where we want to go in and say, what if that happened, what would we do? What's our fallback plan? Because it could happen.
Yeah, and that's true. You need a fallback plan and contingency plans. And, I think the more prepared you are, the better. Like you said earlier, plan for the best, but prepare for the worst, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. So I think these have been great. And I know we always talk about taxes and the cost of health care, but there are other things out there people need to be looking at and aware of. And I'm glad you're making us aware of these. What's something else that you wanted to mention?
This is one that has come to really be recognized by us more and more over the last few years, because we're experiencing it as a firm, and that is unforeseen needs of family members. What do I mean by that? Well, let me give you a couple of examples. You've got a daughter with 2 kids, and the husband leaves her, files for divorce, and she's a stay-at-home mom. Here she is now with her income cut in half or more, depending on how the judge rules, right? 2 kids to take care of, nowhere to go. Maybe not educationally based from a standpoint to go get a really great job. You got daycare. And so guess where they go? They move back in with mom and dad. And so that increases the cost of maintaining a household. Now maybe one of you has to quit working to help take care of the kids so the daughter can go to work. It just changes the entire look of retirement, or maybe it slows down your preparation for retirement because you have to retire early or can't put as much money away or whatever. So that's one good example. Another one is our aging parents. I've got
the aging population, yeah, and I'm part of the sandwich generation. You know what I mean?
Me too.
I have children that are reaching adulthood that need help with college and getting started on their lives. Right. And my parents and my wife's parents, or my wife's mom anyway, right, are needing, and my grandparents actually, are needing to go into long-term care and need more help.
Yep. Yeah, I've got a client, a female client, husband and wife. But the female had to quit her job to go sit with her mom because her mom could not afford to pay $20 an hour for a sitter. And so she basically is spending her job now is being with her mom 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. They can't afford a sitter for the weekend to give, my client a little bit of a break. But she had to quit or retire early, and so that has kind of changed we've had to kind of go back and adjust the retirement plan. Maybe the husband may have to work a little bit longer, right? And so that type of thing, we're seeing more and more as we're living longer. Our clients are typically in their mid-50s to mid-70s. A lot of them still have a parent or 2 left. and they're getting into their 80s and 90s, like you said. And I'm seeing it with my parents. My dad's 90, my mom's 88, and they live 2 hours away. And we're like, she called me the other day, needed me. I'm like, Mom, I've got 3 classes to teach today. I just can't walk away, and I felt bad. And both my brothers are retired. I'm like, call them, so, but
right.
But they happen to be busy or whatever.
Call
and
them.
Well, I mean, they call me first.
That's not a plan, though.
But I appreciate them calling me, and it broke my heart.
Oh, you're first on the list. That's got to say something, right?
I'm the middle child, whatever that means.
Yeah. But, I don't know.
So, but I think you get the point of that can drastically change the course of action. So that needs to be taken into account when we're looking at a plan. Are your parents still living? What's their health? What are their plans for as they begin aging? Things like that.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. And you're right. I mean, obviously, it's like I said, they call it the sandwich generation. Mm-hmm. Some people are caught between spending money on their kids and helping out with college, and then the time or money needed to make sure, their parents are taken care of. So they've got responsibility on both ends. And that's not just a money issue, but obviously a time and a stress and situational issue, but it can also be financial.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
It's tough. And like I said, our firm is now 12 years old. And so a lot of the clients we picked up in their mid 50s to mid 60s are in their, mid 60s to mid 70s, and they're beginning to themselves experience some of this. So now you got a spouse trying to take care of another spouse, and so they're having to maybe not work. I mean, there's all these dynamics going on. And like you said, all of a sudden the daughter calls and says, I have nowhere to go, and now that comes into the play. So it is certainly becoming more prevalent in our planning techniques for sure.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So what's another thing that we might not be expecting in retirement, but that might pop up?
Yeah, I think the last one I've got here, Tony, is employment risk. So we saw this in 2008 through 2011. People that were in their, mid 50s, within 5 years of retirement or 3 years or whatever, right, lose their jobs because of a great recession, right? And here they are. Let's say I'm thinking of one person right now. He was 60 years old, upper level management for SunTrust banks. Okay, and his department was dissolved in 2009, and so here he was, 60, 61, and not really hireable. First of all, because the economy, was really bad through 2011 or so. So nobody was hiring, especially hiring somebody 61 that was used to making $150,000, $200,000 a year. The companies weren't doing that. So he really hadn't saved enough, and yet so there was just this whole dynamic of going back to square one with me, saying, how can we readjust and make sure that this works? And we worked it out. We worked it out, and we're able to squeeze some things here and do some things there. And I think he ended up working part-time for a little while. His wife worked another extra couple of years. She was a school teacher, so she hung around a little bit longer than she thought. But it is, again, a risk that we run in today's world.
That's a risk a lot of people I don't think realize, or they don't calculate it, at least in their pre-planning, or think about it ahead of time. I think it's something a lot of people might end up dealing with, and a lot of us might have to deal with, but it's not something we think about when we talk about our retirement plans or retirement planning or how much we're going to need. So, with people living longer and longer, people are working longer, and I think people are finding ways to work in retirement, but there are a lot of financial factors that come with working in retirement that people don't think about either, like social, like if they're already collecting Social Security and they decide to work into retirement, you don't really want to collect Social Security and be working, because your Social Security will get docked, right?
That's right. If you make more than $19,560 this year, you lose $1 of Social Security for every $2 you make over that.
Yeah.
So if you're making $50,000 or $60,000,
$19,000 isn't very much. You can make that very quickly with even a really small hourly part-time job.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, you got to be careful. And some people don't realize that same person that worked at SunTrust, he looked for a couple of years. He finally turned, I think, 63, and he turned on his Social Security. I tried to get him not to, but he said, I really need to do this. Guess what happened within a year? He got a job.
Yeah.
And so if he had just gone back to work and not thought about his Social Security, he would have gotten a bill about a year later saying, we paid you too much, send us $12,000, okay? But I was able to tell him, you need to contact Social Security, say, I've got a job, I'm making $60,000 a year, please adjust my payment, and it did, and it was okay. So that's what you don't know is what's going to really bite you, right? And that's what would have happened with him if he had not been working with us. So,
right.
Pat myself on the back there.
Good. Well, and that's what you're there to do, and that's our listeners can get that help as well and save in those areas as well. Let us know how they can get a hold of you before we have to go.
2 easy ways, 770-980-9262. And again, the website's a great place to go. We're actually getting ready to revamp it, add some new videos, but it's masterplanretire.com. You can find out more about us and click on that little green button. And I need to warn people, folks. I need to warn everyone that if you schedule it in the next 7 days, I've got 5 openings. It doesn't mean I can meet with you in the next 5 days. My calendar is really full for about 2 weeks out, so go ahead and get on it. Don't procrastinate. It's a 30-minute chat. I'm not going to, trap you in a room and try to sell you a timeshare. This is all about discussing your concerns, and let's see if those are things that are important enough to be addressed or not, and then run you some reports. Let's see where you stand.
All right. Well, that sounds great. And I just think that it's so important that people take these things into consideration. And that does it for today's episode of Retirement Roadmap Radio. We're out of time, Mark. Listeners, thanks for tuning in.
It flew by. Maybe we need to make it an hour from now on, okay? No, we won't do that. So anyway, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate you joining our show. It's also available on podcast, all the major podcast outlets, and some of the shows are now available on YouTube. Find our YouTube channel. My name, Mark Fricks, or Master Plan Retirement. Do a search. You'll find them. Lots of great information just like this. Over 100 podcasts available. Or just join us every week. Same time, same channel. But until we do see or meet or talk, just remember, plan well and prosper. Have a great day, everybody.